I started recording for a second. I wasn't ready. Um, this is the fifth, maybe sixth time I've tried to do this today. So I apologize that it's so late to being posted. But guess what, guys? The video that I have been preparing to do is done. The studies, things that I put together. So here we go. I do realize that it's a lot. I might have to do a part 2 of this recap. This is basically an updated version of the video that I did back in March 16th, 2016. Genesis 1:1. That one included Genesis 1:1 and 2. But I'm breaking it down per verse. So this is just that portion of it. Just Genesis 1:1. So I have gone through a lot of studying and stuff, and I have notes here listed of mysteries of modern day science. Scientists are very, very baffled, and the only reason that they're baffled is because they refuse to acknowledge the truth. Okay, they refuse to acknowledge that there is a source, and if they acknowledge there's a source, they try to make up their own idea of what that source is and try to explain it away, from their own mind, and you cannot do that. So you have to look at the logical thoughts, the logical thought process for this, okay? Nothing can become without major components, okay? And this is what this study and the streaming is going to be about. I have to do it in multiple videos because I think the only thing this allows me to go up to is a half an hour, and this is a lot more than a half an hour. So there might be a few of them. This is part 1. Okay, it's going to be listed Genesis 1:1, part 1. So, I have listed 12 things. I'm not going to really go into a very long discussion about these things because I want to get to my points and my purpose of this video, okay? Now, here's the thing. Mysteries of modern day science. I've discovered 12 things that they seem to be so mind-boggling to them. They cannot put 2 and 2 together, as far as who, what, where, when, and why. They just can't. There's no way. Okay, so one of them is scientists still have no idea why we sleep. What's the purpose? We know that it has extreme effect on us if we don't. Sleep deprivation is actually a form of torture that militias have used as in like war. When they have prisoners of war, there's times where they have done everything they can to keep them awake. They won't allow them to sleep, or they'll let them fall asleep for a couple minutes or whatever, wake them right back up. It's a form of torture. So we know that is extremely important for us to get sleep, but we don't know why. You guys have got to look up EM Drive. It's pretty awesome, okay? So it's a propulsion without our normal jet heat propulsion. Sorry, I said it right the first time and then So they have this machine that can create a propulsion force without there being flames or fire involved. So it's quite incredible. Look it up. EM Drive. Okay. Second, that's the second one. Third one is somewhere there's a 9th planet. So however they use, I should have wrote it down, but however they determine that there are other things in outer space, is how they determine that was there. Okay. They're able to measure using either light frequencies or radio frequencies of some type. They are able to determine where things are, almost like a bat. Bats are blind, but they're actually not, because they use their sense. They have a way to, I think it's echo something. I forget. I'm like drawing a blank. I'm kind of nervous doing the video, so it's just I play with my hair a lot and stuff. Excuse me. But they use that sound. They send out a sound and they listen for the echo of the sound, where the sound waves. That's how they feel where things are. And so it's quite amazing. But that's how they determined there's another thing out there. They're not really sure if it's a planet or if it's a black hole. They just don't know. Because we can't go that far yet. We haven't gone that far yet. But it's very close to us. It's close to us to the point where they can determine that it's within our galaxy, or at least next to our galaxy. And that would be amazing if they could find out. It'd be interesting to look at that. I love stuff like that. That challenges my brain. So, humpback whales. Okay, there's another thing that they figured out. That 1 second. Hi. Sorry, I had to stop for a second. So, humpback whales. I love animals. Okay, I love animals. And can you imagine? Humpback whales are humongous. Can you imagine? You're like out on your boat one day and you look down and all of a sudden you see like 1 million humpback whales in one spot. That would be picture worthy. I would probably, like, if I could get one of those water cameras, or if I had a phone that like was capable of fully recording underneath the water. What? Anyways, I would love that. The Great Pyramid of Giza. Well, they have discovered 2 giant cavities around the pyramid. Okay, one is at the northeastern side. I think that's what it says. Yes, northeastern edge. The other one is right underneath it. I mean, where does that come from? Like, can you look how huge those things are? Can you imagine having to be on the construction crew for that? And then you put a hole there, like, intentionally? How does that happen? Like, so they have no idea. Like, none of us can imagine intentionally creating those types of... I mean, they didn't just say it's a hole. They say it's a cavity. That means it's a huge, like, maybe part of it collapsed, some of it's missing, like something like that, where once it was there and now it's all of a sudden it's not. The other thing is what are fast radio bursts? So I'm going to bring up my phone and I'm going to let Google explain to you what fast radio bursts are, because scientists have discovered them and they understand how they work, but they don't understand the source. What are fast radio bursts? Listen to this.
According to Wikipedia, in radio astronomy, a fast radio burst is a transient radio pulse of length ranging from a fraction of a millisecond to a few milliseconds, caused by some high-energy astrophysical process not yet understood.
Okay, so they are, again, like, everything that has happened scientifically, everything that's happened geographically, everything that's happened in the entirety of the universe and the earth has happened by a source. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is the purpose of this video, is to show and explain there is a source. Okay, call it what you want it. Call it what you want. Okay, for all intensive purposes of this video, we are going to call this source omniscient. Why? Because science is to know. And in order for something to become, it has to come from something that is a lot more knowledgeable than itself. So, all knowing is perfect. And that's what omniscient means. All knowing. Okay? So, no matter what you believe, who you believe, if you believe in green, purple elephants, or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. The problem is, or the thing is, the point is, there's a source. Okay, and that's the purpose of this video. What is a Thule monster? They have this incredible looking creature with arm things that are actually the eyes, and they actually extend out. Okay, this looks like something like off of a Pokemon game, okay, that you could see, and like, cause I used to play Pokemon Go, and I still love the game, but it's like you would imagine that something like that would be on that game, because it has this long elephant-like mouth. It's actually the mouth, and the mouth is located at the end of the creature. So it's like, whoa, like, yeah. Anyways, what's going on with Tabby Star? So Tabby Star is a independent star in the universe that they have observed, and what they have observed with this star is that it has unusual activity. Okay, so when the stars are being creative, when the stars are being created, okay, and they're coming to existence, there's a process for that. And in the initial process, it creates an extreme amount of light, and before the star settles, and it burns as the ball of gas for however long it burns. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm not an expert in this. Okay, I by no means have some formal education, but this is stuff that you can look up yourself. It's so simple to look it up. Okay, you just have to go with an understanding that there's a source. You know, it's yeah. Anyways, so they think that this is an alien structure, because the behavior of this star per se is not that of where it lights up initially and then calms down. It has lit up and calmed down and then dimmed. I can't talk. That's just because I'm nervous. I don't look like if I'm nervous. You can hear it when I'm talking. So yeah, that's not how a normal star behaves. Even when a star goes out, it goes out in this great burst of energy, and then it just, like it blows up or explodes or something like that, and it's, so they don't understand why this Tabby's star is behaving the way it is, and so it's odd to them. The other thing is that there is a strange deep hole on Mars, okay? Mars has been around for as long as our Earth has been around. They were made at the same time. They were created, not just boom, no. It was created. And now all of a sudden they notice that this hole is there. They just don't understand what happened to create this hole. Why is it there? What's the source of the hole? What's the purpose of it? It's always that. What is the source? What is the purpose? And yet they still cannot understand what source created everything. They even argue with the fact that creation is creation. Like, yeah. Anyways, that's what we're getting into. So before I get ahead of myself, they don't understand gravity. They're like, are we alone? Are we the only ones here in this universe? And what is the universe made of? What is the universe made of? I'll tell you right now. Omniscient is what it's made of. Now, there are several theories of the origin of life, which the first 7 of them are like, that's... You hear them, it makes you want to do that. It makes you want to just be like, okay. Here we go. Here we go. It started with an electric spark. So where'd the spark come from? It's like, what's the source of the spark? It still comes back to that. What's the source? That's a quick question. What's the source? Molecules of life met on clay. I can't even believe that this is listed. Okay? I don't know why that's even listed as a theory of origin of life. Okay? They don't acknowledge babies in the mother's womb as life. So how is this a theory? This one is actually the kind where if I had a brick wall in front of me, I'd be like, over and over again, what in the world are these people thinking? They're not. They're not. They're trying to justify their own actions, so they explain away other things. Life began at deep sea vents. Why is there a deep sea vent? Where is it coming from? Where is it going? What's behind this deep sea vent? And if this deep sea vent is the source of life, why are we unable to breathe underwater? I mean, evolution, hello, if that's a thing, how come evolution has disabled us from breathing underwater? If we started underwater in the first place, like, there would be a continual creation of the ability for us to breathe and exist underwater. No. No. That's the first three. The fourth one, life had a chilly start. It's partially correct. We do know that, at least for the Earth's standards, that it had to go through an extreme heating and cooling process in order for it to form and be formed for what it is. Because the core of the Earth, they refer to as Hades, because it is extremely hot. I mean, extremely hot. Okay? It's hot as lava. That's what it is. I mean, that's what it is. So that's sort of, kind of. The other answer is, a lot of people believe the answer lies in understanding DNA, where it comes from, how it's written, what creates this, what way and other way. And yeah, good luck with that. That's probably true. If we could understand the writings of DNA and how those are created in each individual, because each individual person has their own DNA. That's why babies are babies and they're not a form of tissue. They have their own DNA. Duh. That makes them a separate human being. Okay. It's just a slave mentality all over again. I own that. It's mine, so I can kill it. That's the slave mentality all over again. It's also the Holocaust mentality all over again. What do they do to the babies? Anyways, that's a whole other thing. It is, though. It is. They tear them apart, burn them alive with acid, literally stab them in the brain and rip them out. I mean, come on. It's the Holocaust all over again. Life had simple beginnings. It did. That part is true. Life had simple beginnings. Every time God said, "Let there be," something began. So yes, it was very simple. Life was brought here from elsewhere in space. Sort of true. So panspermia. Sort of true. Why is it sort of true? Because the elsewhere in space is what? Let's start. It starts with an O. Omniscient. That's where it came from. Okay. So the last two were not that absurd. Or last three were not that absurd. But the first ones were like... Ugh. Now, the three that we are focusing on in this portion of the study of the Bible is the theory of chaos, the steady state model, and the Big Bang theory. Okay. Now, have you ever wondered if you know of anybody at all, okay, who ever says, "I don't believe in God, I don't believe that He's real, I don't believe He's alive," or even if you have Christians in your friend circle or family circle that are kind of semi-sorty, teeter-totty kind of thing, they need to watch this. Okay, so it's like all those people who wonder where, if they care, if the thought has ever crossed their mind, about the existence of, anything. or how everything began, or who was the first person to exist, or what was the first thing to come into existence. You know, we have to look at modern day scientific theory and research and see what they've come up with. Okay? Process of elimination. And you have to go with what makes sense. Okay? So that's what we're going to do here. And what does that have to do with Genesis? What does that have to do with Genesis? Well, if you've seen my little tidbits and stuff, the definition of the beginning is written all over Genesis. Okay? Let's go back. It's back. I have my flashcards here. I'm going to bring this up. Okay? So, let's go back to the beginning. We did the movie on Adam. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, Omniscient created the heavens and the earth. Okay? It is the who, what, where, how, the cause. That's what it is. The Omniscient. He is the source. There has to be a source. No matter what theory you look at and choose to believe, there has to be a source. It only is common sense. Okay? Something cannot come from nothing. It cannot. Without instruction, without wisdom, without structure, without a source. Okay? Powerful enough to tell it what to become. It cannot happen. Cannot happen. It's not logical. Okay? It's not logical. Okay? So, I just wanted to share that. A little tidbit over there. So, let's get deeper into this now. So, we're looking into that again. Now, we cannot. God is real. Okay? For the rest of this, after this introduction, you know, we don't have to use the name of God for it. I can still explain him without using his name. He has a million different names though, so I'm likely going to end up using his name anyways, which is what I'm doing, why I'm using Omniscient. It is, you know, it's not the name of God. It doesn't make people squirm in their pants. And, you know, it still describes exactly who he is because he is the source. He is the foundation for everything. Okay? Now, this is what we're going to do through this. God is not a myth. Okay? He is not imaginary, make-believe. He's not pretend. He's not any of those things that are insubstantial. He is not insubstantial. He is the substance of the entirety of this universe. Okay? And he is bigger and way more powerful than we could ever imagine in our entire lives. He is way bigger and way more powerful than that. We cannot truly fathom, the extent of his power and his knowledge and his wisdom. It's impossible. Okay? Now, we cannot grasp the full concept of who God really is. I'm doing my best with this study to try to explain this. So we are going to start at Genesis 1:1. Okay? I have channel on Instagram, channel on Facebook, blog on Instagram, a blog on Facebook, and all under Revelations of God. Look me up. If you have anybody that has doubts or questions, uncertainties, look me up, okay? Also, this is about to end, and I've just barely begun. So, let me get some points in before. I'm not going to go reading. If you want to know the listings of the beginnings that I have here, you're going to have to Google it, because it's going to cut me off, and those are not necessarily important, so I'm going to have to not do that. I hope to one day get this published and they'll be all listed in there, and you can look them up and study them and see how, insignificant the theories are and why they were not really paid attention to. Okay, so right now, what I say we're going to the Big Bang Theory, we're going to the steady state theory, and the theory of chaos. Okay, so one thing not taken into account is the biblical account only referred to here as the Abrahamic theory. The Abrahamic theory is that the universe was created. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning. Okay, created the heavens and the earth. Something caused the entire universe to become all that it is now. Okay, we have to face that fact. You can't be enlightened in this study if you cannot face the fact that something was a source, that something made it. Whatever it is, whether you blink, something made that. When you breathe, something made that. Everything was made. Everything. Okay? So, what does it take for a thing to begin? This is what I'm talking about. What does it take for something to begin? First of all, there has to be something so knowledgeable that it can tell your lungs how to be created and then how to function out of nowhere, out of nothing. Okay, so the source is the omniscient. Okay, we're going to I'll call it what it is, the omniscient. He is actually the what? He is the everything. That's who he is. He is the everything. Okay? Now, okay, so it has to be a source that's smart enough. Not only smart enough, but wouldn't you imagine that that source has to be powerful enough for it to breathe and everything is commanded to what to become in just a second? As quickly as it takes us to talk through a whole conversation, all the things that we can say. Can you imagine all the things that we can say through a small conversation that we have? Imagine if it's God. If you're God and you're that large and you're that powerful, all you have to do is think it and it just comes to be just because you thought it. Okay? So you have to take into account that this omniscient is also omnipotent. Okay? That means powerful. Potent is powerful. When people say something is potent, has a potent smell, has a potent taste, they're saying that it's strong and powerful. Okay? So we also have to take into account that this thing is omnipotent. Okay? We cannot say, there's nothing else. This omniscient is omnipotent. And there's nothing else in the entirety of the universe that is more powerful, because nothing can be more powerful than the all-powerful one. Nothing. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, throw the religion out the window, but doesn't it make sense that nothing is more powerful than the all-powerful one? Sounds pretty logical to me, right? Okay, so the beginning had to come from a source, because how would it come in to the beginning? What is it coming out of? If it's coming into something, that means it's coming out of. What is it coming out of? The source. Okay, if it's beginning, that means it has to have a beginning spot. Ooh, I saw it. There's a fly. So it has to have a portion where it's beginning. It has to have a place where it's beginning. Okay, in order for this place to exist, how would that place have the structure in order to withhold, in order to uphold beginning the beginning. It's omnipotent. That omnipotent has enough power, has enough strength to hold the beginning. For how long? How long is he going to hold it for? Nobody knows except for him. And he is willing to do that. And so he created the beginning for that purpose. In that purpose, with that purpose. He did that, knowing that he was going to be the one holding it up. That he was going to be the one that gave it structure. Okay? It's pretty powerful. We can't even hold a phone book up in our hands for 5 minutes. Can you imagine standing there with a phone book, an old phone book? I know phone books hardly exist these days and stuff, but telephone directories, remember how big those were? Those things were big. They used to be in existence. They don't exist anymore. Everybody Googles everything, so that's all went out of business. But imagine having to hold that out in your hand. You would not be able to do that for 5 minutes. You wouldn't. It would be tiring. It would be exhausting. It would be painful after a while. It would, because your arms would hurt and everything like that, and you wouldn't want to do it anymore. But somebody who's all powerful can. The source that is omnipotent, he can. So we're looking back into this. I actually went through all of that. So in the beginning, Genesis 1:1, it gives us a location and a general time frame. It gives us a position, which in turn silently indicates that there is an opposing position. Okay, so in the beginning also is a silent indicator that there is an outside of the beginning. And the only thing in existence that can do that is omnipotent. It's the only thing in existence that can do that. Okay, the very definition of in the beginning, it says the word in is the very meaning is the word used to indicate inclusion or location or a position within limits. Okay, that already defines the limiting structure. Okay, so something limited in. Something limited in order to create an out also simultaneously. Okay? I have to scan through because I talked about a lot of this. I'm not even reading this. Okay, this intelligent source contains